Hello and welcome to another edition of National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector. Coming up, Dominica is among 4 OECS countries to benefit from a US $20 million loan agreement with the IDB. Efforts to ensure that Dominica is sufficiently prepared to respond and manage disasters continue, and the Environment Minister believes Dominica leads the region in managing climate change. Stay with us for details of these and other stories after the break.
The facts as they are, brought to you every day, only on GIS Channel 7.
Welcome back. Dominica is among 4 OECS countries to benefit from a recently approved loan agreement signed by the Inter-American Development Bank, or IDB. The IDB last week signed the US $20 million agreement for a global loan program with the Caribbean Development Bank, or CDB, for projects in 4 IDA OECS member countries. The CDB will lend the funds for the financing of public sector projects in Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is believed that these small and open economies are vulnerable to external economic shocks and natural disasters while still reeling from the effects of the global financial crisis. The new approved program will help address the social and economic challenges of these non-IDB member countries, which may be constrained by their limited access to longer-term and lower-cost credit resources. The loan will give support in areas of education, infrastructure, mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and policy-based operations. Resources will be allocated by CDB based on its country strategy and programming processes. The IDB Charter was amended in 1977 to allow the bank to provide financial resources to the CDB to support its member countries. Prior to the approval of the new loan, the IDB had financed 4 global loan programs to the CDB totaling US $104 million, as well as in various technical cooperation operations. In more news, prevention and mitigation work may be critical factors in avoiding considerable damage to life and property during natural disasters such as hurricanes. So says a consultant working with the local disaster office. Former Superintendent of Police Nicholas George, who has been contracted on special assignment with the Office of Disaster Management, or ODM, has been assisting the office in the development of disaster management plans. George, during an interview with GIS News on Monday, said proper disaster planning is important. The official is suggesting that comprehensive disaster management plans be developed to safeguard communities.
There is a disaster management cycle that involves preparedness, prevention, mitigation, response, recovery, and rehabilitation. Now, all these elements I found were not necessarily present in the planning or the plans that I saw. And I felt that, and recommended to them that is critical in the planning, because it is, we found, and I'm recommending, it's more prudent to do prevention work and mitigation work in disaster management prior to response.
George says prevention work at the community level is necessary to prevent any significant impact on infrastructure. He says if this is implemented, it could result in significant savings for the country. George also made reference to a situation which recently occurred in Massac, where prevention and mitigation measures were ignored.
Prevention work was just clearing the ravines that impacted them 2 years ago. Mitigation work, reinforcing the walls. Now, so what we've had, we didn't do the prevention, we didn't do the mitigation, and then we had the floods. So we had the community impacted. Now we're doing the prevention and the mitigation, but there has been a cost. So if there were savings projected by the Minister of Finance in the budget of that year, well, it all went because we had to use it to assist the community. So it's important that we plan and we incorporate the principles of prevention and mitigation.
Over the last few months, the consultant, as part of his work program at the ODM, has been looking at hazard mapping and assessment of communities. George says Dominica is within a hazard zone, which means the island must be sufficiently prepared to respond to hazards resulting from disasters. He tells GIS News it is important that communities know what hazards could threaten them and what can be done to lessen the impact.
What are the hazards that threaten the communities? Communities must know that. Different communities in Dominica are threatened generally by different hazards. Some by all, but clearly Tetmon would not be considered threatened by a tsunami, but Portsmouth is. Tetmon may be impacted by landslides, Portsmouth may not be, and so on. So therefore the communities must know by what hazard they are likely to be impacted and what is the history of that impact and what it is that we can do to lessen the impact.
Dominica is this week observing Hazard Awareness Week ahead of the start of the 2013 hurricane season. In more news, Minister responsible for Trade and Employment, Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, has welcomed a government-initiated apprenticeship module focused on culinary arts and nail technology. Honorable McIntyre told the official launch of the apprenticeship module on Monday that the food service industry accounts for 90% of all industries and 50% of the global gross domestic product. He says the government of Dominica recognizes the opportunities which this field could bring to the island's young people.
Cooks, chefs, and food preparation workers can work in restaurants, in private homes, in schools and institutions, test kitchens, as caterers, pretty much anywhere there's a need for a professional food service. The kind of work is varied as the kind of food people want. Upscale, casual, West Indian, international cuisine, fusions thereof, cakes, pastries, desserts, research and test cooking, avant-garde cuisine, the list goes on. Other occupations have come from the education in the culinary art includes food writers and cooking instructors.
Meantime, manager of Mans Limited, Marilyn Coffey Morris, will facilitate the culinary arts segment of the apprenticeship program. In her address at the orientation, Coffey Morris discussed her role in the program.
The focus is to basically provide a number of services to the public in terms of project management services, event management services, training services, and under our training arm, we provide technical training to a number of businesses here on island.
Coffey Morris encouraged participants to use the opportunity to boost their skills and develop themselves on the island. The National Bank of Dominica is also on board with the program. NBD was on hand to register savings accounts for the apprentices. NBD Marketing and Community Relations Representative Chad Augustine discussed that collaboration.
I first would like to say to all of the participants that the longest journey begins with a first step. Why can't we create employment for ourselves? Hence the reason why you all are here today. And that's one of the things that we had to start doing in Dominica, thinking of how we are able to do things for ourselves rather than waiting for someone else to do that. And I look at the persons gathered here this morning and I say, each one of you all is filled with potential. But then if you stay and just say, okay, I'm going to wait, then it remains just that potential. And so everyone gathered here this morning has the opportunity and the capability of not only creating employment for his or herself, but also creating employment for others.
The Employment and Small Business Support Agency launched its first apprenticeship program where participants learn the art of stone cutting. Visitors to the Titu Gorge can view the results of their work. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit committed his government to financing the setup of the small businesses resulting from Module Number 2. And we'll bring you more from that launching in a subsequent newscast. Argentina's new ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Ariel Fernandez, is committed to the enhancement of relations between the two countries. His Excellency Fernandez gave the commitment during the formal handing over of credentials to Dominica's head of state, His Excellency Eliud Williams.
As a new ambassador, extraordinary and plenipotentiary, is to try to incentivize and strengthen the bonds between our two countries and their peoples. So our idea as representing Argentina and my people is to try to start working from the very beginning in order to analyze or identify potential area of cooperation between the two countries. And I have to announce that to start with, a delegation from our Ministry of Health is coming this afternoon in order to have meetings with your Ministry of Health.
President of Dominica, His Excellency Eliud Williams, in his welcome remarks to the new ambassador, noted that he was looking forward to the finalizing of the draft bilateral agreement on technical cooperation, which would formalize ties between the two countries. His Excellency President Williams also noted with interest plans to establish an agreement which would facilitate easier travel to both countries.
I'm aware too that there's ongoing discussions between your country and ours on the matter of visa abolition at various categories, first diplomatic and official levels, and more generally in ordinary passports. This would in fact facilitate travel between bona fide nationals of the two countries to visit each other.
Dominica and Argentina established diplomatic relations in 1985. In other news, Dominica continues to lead the region in coping with climate change. This affirmed by Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, Minister for the Environment, at a recent interview with GIS News. The minister recently returned from UNESCO's Conference on the Environment, a two-day meeting in Nevis for OECS ministers and other stakeholders on the subject of combating climate change. While deliberations proposed the Pacific island of Mauritius as a model for good environmental practices, Honorable Daru believes that there is no need to venture out of the Caribbean region to find examples of good environmental conservation behavior. According to Minister Daru, he recommended Dominica as the ideal model since the island leads the region in dealing with climate change. The minister highlighted a few of the actions which the island currently undertakes to deal with environmental issues stemming from climate change.
As I speak, we're on the verge of tapping into much needed. We already have some in the region, I think of $59 million available for projects in what they call our combating climate change, climate resilience, and our low-carbon strategy. And then there are a number of projects before Cabinet as I speak, which are to be approved by Cabinet. We have, in the pipeline or environmental legislation, which we should see go into Cabinet sometime in the near future. Our new Quarrying Act, our National Land Use Policy.
Honorable Daru says he is proud of Dominica's achievements as well as those of the region. He noted that the region is employing a number of strategies to manage environmental climate change issues. Dominica's Environment Minister admits that the region's main challenge results from inadequate intercommunication and sharing on the subject. Honorable Daru says the meeting saw the proposal of the creation of a central hub which would be managed by the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. Such a move, he suggests, will allow for better coordination throughout the region, permitting a more effective means of communication to share information about climate change among the islands.
One country can always tell the other country what it has done to arrive at whatever point it is, and thus see better results, because we need to understand that that we as a region, that whatever affects one island affects all of us, and we are all in this together. We know, because it's no fault of ours that we are placed in this geographical region where every year around that time, I speak in the next few days, we see the official start of the hurricane season, and every year we see these storms, and then of course with the added effects of climate change, we see these weather patterns becoming more erratic. So we have to fight this thing together as a region, pool our resources together, and as I said, share on each other's successes.
At the UNESCO Environment Conference, the matter of channeling funds towards the cause was also discussed. On that issue, Honorable Darus stressed the need for less talk and more action. He believes that the issue of climate change should by now be well known and understood. What is now needed, he says, is an urgent action plan.
We think that more of the funding, especially from the donor countries, donor agencies, should be going into practical, tangible, visible projects on the ground that affect the life of the everyday people. Okay, instead of all of these consultancies. I mean, if you go to my office, I've only been in this thing for like 3 years more. I mean, I've got people, you know, that could probably cover the whole of Dominica. So we think that the time has come where we should start actually channeling the funds into actual projects, which is what exactly Dominica is doing through its PPCR, which is the World Bank Climate Investment Fund project.
Minister Daru also attended a recently held OECS Fisheries Ministers meeting in St. Lucia. Details of the minutes of this conference will be given in a subsequent newscast. And finally, this news time, the United States exhibited a brilliant performance, gathering the best score among the 4 teams in the first ever Nature Island Challenge. The Dominica Nature Island Challenge is a unique adventure that will allow visitors to experience firsthand the people and culture of Dominica while exploring and discovering nature at its purest. The challenge, which spanned May 21 to 24, was the first ever of its kind hosted in Dominica and is hoped to become an annual event. Over the 4-day period, competitors from the USA, Trinidad, and Antigua raced along the Waitukubuli National Trail, occasionally stopping for mini challenges in various communities. The competition required athletes to compete in otherwise traditional activities such as brewing cocoa tea, sorting coffee beans, and walking and changing livestock. The contest also took the teams to the scenic trails of the Boiling Lake, the Titu Gorge, and the Middleham Falls. The 4th and final day was centered around segments 13 and 14 of the Waitukubuli National Trail, concluding at the Cabrits National Park. Exciting mini challenges included a lost village search, a soccer basketball challenge, a fishing boat hunt, and finally a local cultural dance competition. In the end, USA emerged winner with Antigua in 2nd place and 2 teams from Trinidad placing 3rd and 4th. The event will be aired on NBC's World Adventure Sports on June 8th at 4 p.m. And that's all for the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, ministre Everyone, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow, représentait Dominique en Guamantin changement climatique qui prend place en Saint-Kitts. Meeting ça là été organisé par UNESCO.
Mais il y a un bagage là qui sort de meeting là qui clair c'est pays individuel pays nous n'y a local fait. À Dominique, juste à Dominique, nous savons nous point pour commencer à taper l'argent hors World Bank Climate Investment Funds pour faire project pour combattre climate change. Mais ça qui fait c'est nous pas assez information sharing. Et bien c'est bagage là ça nous a créé là un gap analysis. Ou là c'est pays c'est individuel pays nous continuons nous pas exchange success stories nous ensemble pour aider un autre. So tout chaque pays qui a fait ça y veut. Chaque pays qui a fait ça y veut, mais chaque pays qui a fait ça y veut, mais nous pas parler nous pas parler assez à nous-mêmes. Le bagage là qui sort de meeting ça là c'est que nous besoin moins parler, moins consultation avec tout l'argent ça nous a dépassé en la consultation avec study ces bagages ça nous besoin pour nous faire projet qui affecte la vie dans les chimères.
La nouvelle Banque nationale Dominique en collaboration et puis sécurité sociale a collaboré et puis ministre employement faciliter jeunesse qui concerne bagaille pour développer business ayo. Orientation pour 35 jeunesse ou là yo kan engagé en affaires culinary arts pour place learning. Ministre pour Employment, Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, bien plaisir pour programme ça là.
Aujourd'hui, nous avons Commercial Bank, c'est National Bank of Dominica, et c'est la première institution de Dominique. Avec institution ça fait comme ça à toute qualité de business, on est banking, on fait ouvrir un compte pour mettre l'argent, yo monter pour moi ou ça on peut faire un business ça, on peut garder quoi checks et puis balances, ou pas ni prendre l'argent gaspiller, commencer un business, ou taper l'argent, by ça tout ça nous fait un stipend, something stipend you buy. Yo ça taper un petit l'argent pour mettre pour payer boss yo pour bailler pour gagner petit bail avec yo mettre un petit l'argent en banque là so aujourd'hui nous pas capable prendre chasse nous ca aider yo nous ca chibi la yo be for ça et ça nous ca faire nous porter en National Bank à Dominique pour faire ouvrir un compte yo taper petit debit card yo taper information avec un autre billet nous ca faire yo taper un social security number aussi pour yo comment dire payer because dès pour ca faire l'argent on peut payer pour là où venir plus vieux que nous l'argent pour occuper. Actuellement, on a un lot monde qui participe à social security. Il y a un problème pour taper l'argent. So mon cas de ces jeunes bien sérieux. So là où la chance de ça 67 days où ça tape l'argent pour aider pour ça si vous malade tout ces bases. So banque là, National Bank là et puis nous qui aide nous pour business aspect pour banking c'est bon important nous can garder l'argent dia pour ces monde ouvert un compte and also Dominica National Security c'est bien ça.
La nouvelle organisation IDU-OECS a avancé mandate à développer industrie créative en région là. Organisation là check temps qui passe fait appointement M. Soubaz Esprit pour travailler en capacité là. Quand même selon M. Esprit, industrie créative bien neuf en Dominique. Quand même unit là bien paré pour travailler et puis artistes réaliser potentiel là. Esprit fait parole qui yo en chimie établi association créative en Ifosalam et de l'office li qui travaille pour faire provision moun qui engagé en bagaille créative. Esprit aussi fait parole qui IDU qui continue policier en place, ça veut dire que continue mettre policier en place en pays OECS et puis législation qui concerne piracy, ça c'est moun qui a servi travail à moun pour faire d'autres l'argent. Bagay ka concerne police tax que aussi taper attention. Finalement, messieurs, mesdames, State College Dominica conduit un surveillant agriculture. Parole celle-là sorti au Dean Agriculture State College Dominic, Monsieur Ron Leslie.
Un survey nous allons conduire pour les bons market dit nous ça nous ni pour faire agriculture. Il s'est un grand survey, il s'est un petit survey. Survey là qui conducte des ressources nous qui savent comment conduire survey ça là. Mon voulais dire encore, nous pas qu'à développer le programme ça là par nous-mêmes. Nous tenons un team hard industry, nous avons Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Social Services, Ministry of Fair Trade, DEPEX. Nous tenons des gens qui travaillent pour garder le programme.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nous nouvelles en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson Luce. Au revoir.
Thanks, McPherson. Coming up next, one tip to help you train your brain through a healthy diet.
Scary! Everything just shaking and making big, creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking, then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down, get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and Sidera.
Our diets have a huge impact on brain function. Our brains consume over 20% of all nutrients and oxygen that we consume, so remember to feed your brain with the good stuff. That is fresh fruit and vegetables and plenty of omega-3 oils. And that's all for National Focus today. We welcome your suggestions and comments. Please feel free to drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on Facebook and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Jarna Hector. Thanks for watching.